This is Knight Ministries. I am your host, Jeremy Knight. Don't forget to like the video and enjoy the show. Okay. Hello. Okay, so this is another episode of Why I Left Young Earth Creationism. In this episode, we are going to be doing things a little bit differently because in this episode, we are going to be talking about reasons for why I won't go back to being a young earth creationist. Reasons for why I am staying away from young earth creationism. What makes this different than the other episodes is that these are things I found out about young earth creationism after I left the cult. So, yeah. These are things I found out after I left, and they are reasons for why I won't go back. Okay? And this will probably be my last episode in the series unless I decide to make a season 2. Okay? So this is the last episode unless I decide to make a season 2. Okay? I just want to tell you that this will probably not be a comprehensive list. So this is not going to be all the stuff that I've noticed since I left Young Earth Creationism. Just a decent number to get you, to give you an idea of what I've noticed since I left. I'm going to try to list at least 3 things. Hopefully more than 3. But this is not a comprehensive list, okay? Okay, so one of the things that I've noticed about young earth creationism after I've left it is I've started to notice that the leaders of young earth, the leaders don't act the way I think Christians should be acting. They seem to act like children, like big babies. And they seem to carry themselves in a very negative manner, in a way that Christians shouldn't be carrying themselves, and doing things that Christians shouldn't be doing. A great example of this is Kent Hovind's YEC an Atheist Wednesday, I think it is. Yeah, it's Kent Hovind and YEC an Atheist Wednesday. That's a great example of something that Christians should not be doing. Because didn't Jesus say something about turning the other cheek? Yeah, that's not what Mr. Hovind is doing. He's not turning the other cheek like Christians are supposed to be doing. Christians are supposed to take the high ground. We're supposed to live morally. Supposed to be good people. Supposed to be the better person. That's not what Kent Hovind is doing. He's not being the better person. He's not doing what a Christian is supposed to do. And I want to do what a Christian is supposed to do. So I will be the better person. Okay? That's just one of the things that I've noticed. I'm surprised I didn't notice this when I was in Young Earth Creationism, but I've noticed it since I got out. That a lot of the leaders of Young Earth don't act the way a Christian ought to act. Okay? Okay, for this thing that I've noticed, let's talk about something a little bit more personal. Let's talk about how my faith has grown and strengthened since I've left Young Earth. My faith in Christianity has gotten stronger since I left Young Earth. And I feel like if I went back, I'd be losing what I've gained. They tell you, the leaders of Young Earth Creationism tell you that their belief will keep you faithful. Now, this is certainly true for people that stay in Young Earth, but for those people that are lucky enough to figure out that Young Earth Creationism is false, one of two things will happen when they leave. If they are lucky, they will experience what I experienced and find a way to keep the faith and be blessed with a way to stay Christian. But if they are unlucky, they will wind up leaving Christianity altogether and becoming an atheist. And I can understand why that happens, but it's not a good thing. I mean, it's a good thing that they left Young Earth Creationism, but it isn't a good thing that they left Christianity altogether. Young Earth Creationism is not helping Christianity. It is hurting Christianity. It is hindering growth in the faith, and it is hurting the spreading of the gospel. It is not spreading the gospel. It's one of those things that doesn't really win over any new converts. And it doesn't do any of the things they say it will do. It works pretty much the opposite of the way they think it does. And I have definitely become a stronger Christian since I left Young Earth Creationism. Okay? Okay, I just want everyone to know that there really is no chance of me ever going back to being a Young Earth Creationist. There really is no chance. There is no chance of me going back to being a Young Earth Creationist. I have came way too far now, and I feel like if I went back, I would lose what I've gained. So there is no chance of that happening. None whatsoever. So I will stay on the path that I'm on. I'm not going back. Okay? No going back. Not after coming this far. Okay? Okay, in this part we're going to be talking about how young earth creationism has led people astray. Young earth creationism has led people and in Christianity astray. It makes people leave the faith. And I really do mean that it does make people leave the faith. I've seen loads of people leave the faith because of young earth creationism. Once they figure out it's false, they either leave the faith or are blessed with a way to remain Christian without having to believe the lies of young earth. Luckily, I was one of the ones that was blessed with figuring out a way to continue being Christian without having to believe the lies of young earth. But not everyone is as lucky as me. And young earth creationism seems to be something that people will believe if they are brought up in it, or if they are raised in a Christian family. You don't believe in young earth creationism by converting to Christianity. I've never seen someone to convert to Christianity because of young earth creationism. I've never seen that happen. I've never seen someone convert to Christianity because of young earth creationism. It doesn't happen. Usually, if somebody converts to Christianity, it's for some other reason. It's not because of young earth creationism. Young earth creationism does not spread the gospel. It does not do anything good for Christianity. And I've noticed this more and more since I left young earth creationism, which is the whole point of this video, to talk about things that I've noticed since I left young earth creationism. And I've noticed that young earth creationism seems to lead people astray. It seems to lead people away from the faith more than anything else. So, yeah. Another thing I've noticed is that young earth creationism seems to be full of lies. I've exposed a lot of those lies throughout this series. I've exposed the evidence against young earth creationism throughout this series. So you can just watch my previous videos in this series. One of the biggest lies of young earth creationism is the idea that the earth is only 6,000 years old, that the universe is only 6,000 years old. Both of these are big fat lies. As we know from science, the earth is 4.5 billion years old, and the universe is 13.8 billion years old, as we know from science and from the evidence. That's where the evidence points, that's where the science points. And don't get started in the comments about God's word saying something different. It doesn't. God's word doesn't even state the age of the earth. God's word does not even state the age of the earth or the age of the universe. It's silent on these topics. Okay? So, yeah. And the genealogies, they're not meant to be read in such a way to add up the age of the earth. That's not what the genealogies are meant for. Stop trying to manipulate the scriptures to say that that's what they're meant for, because that's not what they're meant for. Stop it. That's the genealogies in Genesis 5 and Genesis 11. The genealogies are not meant for calculating the age of the earth. That's talked about in Hugh Ross's book, Navigating Genesis. Okay? So, yeah. Young Earth creationism is not good for Christianity. It's leading people astray, and it really is not good for Christianity. Okay? Okay, in this part, we are going to talk a little bit about the appearance of age argument that young Earth creationists always like to use. We are going to talk about how the argument is flawed, why it is wrong, and what I noticed about the argument after I left young Earth creationism, which is the whole theme of this video. So, the thing is, the argument is flawed because it is unfalsifiable and untestable. The argument cannot be tested, and it cannot be falsified. Therefore, it is flawed. All the evidence points against the argument, which, in my opinion, makes it wrong. Now, what I noticed about the argument after I left young Earth creationism was just how deep the rabbit hole can go, just how absurd the argument gets. You notice a lot of things once you've left the cult. There really is some truth to that idea that you don't really know you're in a cult until after you leave. So, your mind has been crafted to think the way they want you to think. And they don't want you thinking outside of that way. But when you do start thinking outside of that way, you start noticing just how flawed their way of thinking is. And I noticed a lot of how flawed the appearance of age argument is. There's no way of testing the argument. You might as well just assume that the appearance of age is the actual age, because there's no way of telling the difference. So all the evidence just piles up to the Earth actually being billions of years old. 4.5 billion years old, to be precise. But, yeah. You just really can't tell a difference. So you have to go with what the evidence appears to be, because you can't tell the difference. There's no way of knowing. So you just assume that the appearance of age is the actual age. If something appears to be billions of years old, it probably is. If it appears to be billions of years old, that's because it is billions of years old. And the absurdity of the appearance of age argument really gets into the bad when you start to notice the theological implications of this argument. And there's a lot of really bad theological implications of this argument. It turns God into a deceiver. The God of the Bible is supposed to be the God of truth. And the appearance of age argument turns him into a deceiver, because appearance of age gives things a false history, a lie, if you will. And that kind of moots the point of him being the God of truth. He's supposed to always be telling us the truth, and according to the young earth argument, there's a deception going on there. So that's not truth. Therefore, the young earth argument has to be wrong. You understand what I'm saying? You can also make the argument that Satan put this evidence here. That's giving Satan way too much power, way more power than he deserves. And yeah, it just doesn't work. So you're either left with God did it to test our faith, or Satan did it to fool us. And Satan can only do what God allows him to do. So either way, you're left with God being at fault for a deception. It just does not work. It is wrong no matter how you look at it. That is why I cannot embrace such an argument. I know a little bit about it from what I knew when I was a young earth creationist. I even used the argument a few times when I was a young earth creationist. But I was naive then. I didn't know what I was talking about. I basically just didn't know anything. I didn't know any better. And now that I do know better, I can't go back. I can't go back. Because the argument is wrong. Okay? Okay, here's what I've noticed about the attitude of young earth creationists since I left young earth creationism. This is what I've noticed after I left, not while I was in it. But anyways, what I've noticed is that the attitude of young earth creationists seems to be all over the place. There are groups of young earth creationists that will act like what you would expect cult members to act like. And then there are groups that will act like somebody that really isn't in a cult. So there's groups that act like cult members, and then there's groups that don't act like cult members. Now, the group that I was part of was one of the groups that does not act like it's part of a cult. The group didn't act like you would expect a cult to act like. And when I left that group still considers me a friend. The people that I knew in that group still consider me a friend. They still consider me a Christian. They haven't shunned me or anything. But then there are other groups that if you leave, you get shunned. But the group that I left, they didn't shun me. They did not shun me when I left. But there are other groups that if you leave, they will shun you. They will start to act like you were never part of the group to begin with. And that's a very cultic behavior. But the group I was in wasn't like that. But there are other groups that are like that. And there are other groups that will do a no true Scotsman, and basically, if you don't follow what they believe, they will say you're not a real Christian, which is malarkey, because that's not how that works. Being a young earth creationist very much is not a requirement of being a Christian. It isn't. It never has been. It was never a key doctrine. It still is not a key doctrine, although they do try to treat it like one. It isn't one. But they try to treat it like one, even though it isn't one. You know what I mean? I hope you know what I mean. Otherwise, you would not be watching this video. But I think the attitude of most young Earth creationists is actually rather nice. I will give them one compliment. They do seem to be nice people. They are nice people. I mean, most of them are pretty friendly. They don't. Some groups obsess about the topic, other groups don't. So some groups of young Earth creationists will obsess about the topics, others will just kind of treat it as a minor issue. The group that I was part of just kind of treated it as a minor issue. That group still treats it as kind of a minor issue, but there are other groups of young Earth creationists that will try to make a mountain out of a molehill. And from what I can tell, most of them really don't see it as a major issue, which it isn't. It never was, and it still isn't. And no matter how much some of them try to make a mountain out of a molehill, it will never be the mountain that they're trying to make it into. It will always be a molehill. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the attitude that I've noticed about young Earth creationists since I left the group. Okay? Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell. And follow me on Twitter and join my Discord. This is Jeremy Knight, and I just wanted to say, see you next time.